Alright folks, we've got a intermediate league game here with Boogyman playing as the Hive Tyrant. He's going to be facing off against the Commando Knob of Scrap Goblin on this Lugganoff Glacier map. Which is nice for the old Commando Knob. I think this map should help him out just a tad. I think he probably does need help against the Hive Tyrant in general. But we'll see. Very easy for the Hive Tyrant to overwhelm the Commando Knob in an army versus army fight. But the Commando Knob in Tier 2 will get a lot of tools to wipe Tyrannid units outright, even on retreat. And in Tier 1, one of the best things about this map for the Commando Knob is going to be these garrisons here. So he can constantly keep infiltrating down this side of the map, putting pressure on the natural VP of Boogyman, whilst defending his own, because he's got that really powerful twin-link shooter, and he knows that he can always go back to the towers here. Now, Boogyman actually has some spawn mines at the start here, which will actually be able to counter the garrison. But it looks instead that Boogyman is going to be doing all of his attention here on the eastern portion of the map. Perhaps, I assume, to try and decap this power early on. But generally, the power near your natural VP is the one that you're going to be building up on this map. I don't like that explosion there. I guess the sluggers will be in base for a little bit longer, but of course, you're paying 25 requisition to explode that spawn mine. A few seconds of the sluggers in the base, is it really worth 25 rec? I doubt it. But anyway, that's what he does. You can use the spawn mines to bash gens quite effectively, but there's no threat right now. Scrap Goblin pretty slow to expand here because he sent his shooters forward very unnecessarily there. Should have pulled them back and around. Put some pressure elsewhere. They could have caught this whilst the K-Knob decapped this or flanked the Hormers or something. He's going to go back in now with the K-Knob potentially. No, he's going to disengage. So he's going to lose this power, and he's also not building any node over here, but it's okay, he's just rushing Storm Boys. Probably doesn't want to be going after the Hive Tyrant there. Oh wow, beautiful special from the Hive Tyrant. Going to kill two of the sluggers in retreat, and the Termagants recover from the stun that they had inflicted on them by the Commando Knob. A little bit of AFK there, and now the Storm Boys are going to rotate in. Where are the Hormers? The Hormers are rotating over themselves, but they're quite far away. Okay, but they're going to join up with the Warriors, and the combination of the Warriors plus the Hormagons, even though the Warriors don't get their leap there, that combination is going to easily defeat the Storm Boys, especially when there's double Termagants to contribute as well. Now that's a higher value spawn mine explosion there. Again, no models killed, but it's going to elongate the amount of time that those units have to be in the base. This is a really strange choice from Scrap Goblin there, rotating that Shooter Boy squad over. Might lose them to the spawn mines here in retreat. He didn't follow up with the Termagants. Boogie. Yeah, he wouldn't have lost them anyway. 78 HP, the Termagants wouldn't be able to deal with that in retreat. So the Hive Tyrant with very low HP is going to rotate back to this side and take the natural. Quite convenient for him because he now has basic synapse emitted from his Warrior Brood instead. And he gets another explosion off there on the Storm Boys. Still full models, but nearly half HP. That's quite incredible. That's what Storm Boys versus Spawn Mines is going to look like. I think Boogyman kind of messing up his macro here, doesn't have as many gens as he'd probably want. Oh, actually, yeah, he should get one more gen as soon as possible, but otherwise he just wanted the Ravener Brood. Okay, he's not that far behind at all then, because he wants the Raveners, which is why he was stockpiling all that requisition. In contrast, Scrap Goblin's going to be getting a couple of big shooter upgrades, but I find the big shooters very low value in this matchup because the priority target really is the Warrior Brood and their heavy infantry. So the extra piercing damage from the big shooters isn't that powerful. Generally, I prefer to go with more sluggers against the Tyrannids. I find that the shooters, especially when you're blobbing them like this, can just get overwhelmed and killed in melee very easily. Raveners will be able to contribute to that. And right now, Stormboy's in a terrible position, getting ambushed by double Termagants and the Raveners. Again, a bit of a misplay here from Boogyman. He should have kept his Termagants moving forward to pursue the Stormboys, because it was quite obvious they wouldn't be able to engage in melee there. They'd get ripped to shreds by all of the ranged DPS. Ravenor's taking the brunt of the shooter fire here, which is good for Scrap Goblin. Ravenors are one of the few units in the Tyranid roster that actually bleeds in a significant manner, if they do lose models. But there you go. Warrior leap onto the commander knob, chain knockback. It's just going to wipe him out. We've got the sluggers here with the burners, but there's too much support. Hive Tyrants in there, and all the DPS coming out of the Termagants is going to mean those sluggers can't win that fight. Normally sluggers with burners would be pretty good against the Warrior Brood. If they can get a fight against the Warriors plus the Homers without the Warriors leaping onto them. Of course, sluggers plus Storm Boys will easily beat Hormagaunts and Warriors. So we've got the Adrenal Glands, and we've got one Toxin Sac, but not two, which is strange. You would assume that Boogie wants that. He has a lot of requisition again. He's quite significantly behind on his final gen there. Interesting that Scrap Goblin did choose to build his gens on this side of the map. He didn't go for this position, which I'd say is more meta. Might not be that familiar with the map, to be honest. And over here, these Termagants will finish the cap. They're getting their Toxin Sacs and going to retreat out, only losing a model, not too big of a deal. Boogyman still not building his gen, though he's actually lost a lot of requisition. Okay, he picked up the Rending Talons, and of course he got the Toxic Sacs as Toxin... What is it? Is it Toxin or Toxic? Toxin Sacs. So an aiming what's dat into a stun bomb there on the Warriors, a little bit of a... Could have been a little bit further back, but anyway, I don't know what this Warrior Brood was doing. He would never would have hit that model. But that's a good play. I mean, it gets rid of the Warrior Brood right now, but the Hive Tyrant's still in play, so there's still basic synapse for all these Tyranids. However, without the Warrior Brood, there's a lot less to deal with the melee, and you can see here the power of the double melee, the Storm Boys and the Sluggers under War, giving them extra speed and extra damage, just overwhelming the Tyranid blob. The Hormagaunts you see, where are they? They were in the middle of that, damn. They didn't do anything. I guess they didn't really fight. Raveners probably should have just burrowed out of there. He did lose a Ravener model, and you can see 62 requisition is quite a lot. I mean, this is like an Ogrin for cost, basically, 62-7. It's really expensive, nearly a tactical marine. But you can lose the Raveners more often than tax, that's for sure. But you do get invulnerability, well not invulnerability, but very, very high damage resistance when you're burrowing. So burrowing away from engagements, getting behind and then unleashing your Devourer Fire onto the Storm Boys to bleed them, because they're also a unit that can bleed quite a bit. Can be effective. Once again we see the Warrior Brood leaping onto the Commander knob, disrupting him. No shooter knobs here, so these shooter boys don't really trade very well. I'm a little bit confused as to why the Ravener Brood is capping this point. It should be what the Warriors are doing. The Warriors are going to go to the VP, but the Ravener Brood do such tremendous range DPS, they should really be helping the Termagants out here. Gen bashing, if anything, you should have one Terma, one Ravener bashing, and have one Terma cap the wreck, because Raveners do a lot more DPS than a Termagant squad. So that's a bit of a strange one. Raveners need to be very careful here. Remember that big shooters actually have slightly higher than average range. They have 41 range, and that can make it very awkward when you're trying to run away from them. They can shoot you for a little bit longer than most other guns can, which can kind of mess up with your muscle memory. But they get out of this fight without losing anything. We've not really seen the Rending Talons be useful here. It's going to likely be useful here as we see the Slugger Knob coming into play for the first time in this matchup. Good damage coming into the Sluggers, but now they're all stood up again after the Rending Talons. Oh, they were! If not for the special attack there from the Hive Tyrant. Somebody's losing a lot of HP here as well, down to, wow, one model. Jeez, and the Sluggers are going to retreat out as well. They don't want to fight the Hive Tyrant, whilst this double Termagants are shooting at them. However, something that could fight them, regardless of how many Termagants are going to be firing at them, is the Death Dread, which is a vehicle, and Boogie now realises, oh shit, I better get tier 2, but to be fair, it doesn't look like he was particularly floating, unless he's got something else queued up in tier 2 as well. Hive Tyrant should be able to finish the cap here, and then have to retreat thanks to that Twin Link shooter play. I'd like to see Scrap Goblin send his Commander Knob down this side more, keep harassing here. The Hormagaunts would not be able to stop you because of the fact that you can just take the garrison. Also, now that he's in tier 2, he can pick up Kaboom, which he probably should against Tyranids. It's pretty no-brainer. I mean, that's going to do crazy amounts of damage to the Hormagaunts if they try to leap on him. But it does full damage in retreat as well, so you can position yourself whilst infiltrated down here after the termagants are forced off. You can blow up double termagants quite easily in retreat. Even the warriors, you're going to do some good damage to them when they leap in. Now grabbing the adrenal glands and the warriors will no doubt be a priority upgrade here for Boogyman once he gets into tier 2. The more contentious and interesting topic of discussion, I suppose, will be what will Boogyman get in tier 2 for a unit purchase? Because that's not as obvious. Obviously he has access to the Venom Brood as his primary anti-vehicle unit to deal with the Death Dread, but the Death Dread right now doesn't even have its burners and bits, so it's a very cheap walker with not that much HP. Maybe you could just counter it with your Hive Tyrant. You've got two options there. You can pick up the Crushing Claws and get the 108 DPS heavy melee weapon, or you can pick up the Venom Cannon and have a very effective mobile AV weapon. He's going to grab a Tyrant Guard using the Global to get it a little bit cheaper and more importantly very fast. And once again, Scrap Goblin loses his Commando Knob with a beautiful sync kill from the Hive Tyrant there. Loses the Commando Knob because he was too slow to retreat, and before he retreated he got knocked over by the leap of the Warrior Brood. That's something he really should be aware of by now, and as soon as the Warrior Brood seems to be closing in on the Commando Knob, if you know that you can't walk away in time, then you need to be hitting retreat so you don't get knocked over and lose your hero. Because this is where the Commando Knob is meant to get a lot more impactful on the fights. You can grab the Special Shooter, which is essentially a shotgun. And the nice thing about that is that the shells passively have a chance to knock back. And that's really useful against the Warrior Brood when you're in these melee brawls. As you see, the Warrior Brood's now got the adrenal glands. In addition to the passive knockback, you get huge chunks of AoE damage with the high explosive shells, which is an active ability which does just massive spike AoE damage that can nearly one-shot a squad of gaunts, and again, does knockback on demand. So you can get a lot of chain knockback there. Then you pick up Kaboom, you start blowing up gaunt squads in retreat. Yeah, there's a lot of potential with the Commando Knob in tier 2. He does repurchase him. Of course, none of that potential is coming out yet because it is still a naked, unupgraded Commando Knob. Looks like the double termagants have disengaged here. A little bit of miss micro here from Boogie, doesn't have them around the correct side of that building. So they're fighting a 1v1 against the Shooter Boys, which isn't great for them. Death Dread now picks up his burners and bits, so he's going to be a little bit harder to kill. And the Boogeyman really needs some more AV. He's got a lot of heavy melee right now. He's got the heavy melee warriors with their adrenal gland. He's got the Tyrant Guard. And they've got power melee on his Hive Tyrant. You've seen that he was considering getting the improved Synapse, but I think it's wise that he cancelled that. The priority right now has to be to get some more AV. Probably a Venom Brood. I don't think he can really afford to be having his heavy melee units focused on the Death Dread right now. If there is also the Storm Boys and the Sluggers, they need to be the priority because they're going to do a lot more damage. Though the special attacks from the Death Dread are notoriously terrifying. So we'll see. He does pick up the Warp Field. Basically a shield war gear on the Hive Tyrant. Give him a bit more durability that scales very well with his levels due to the shield using energy. Commander Knob we see on the side is going to be capping up that peripheral part of the map, potentially putting some pressure onto the natural VP, and some other Shooter Boys rotating back over because they're currently split. Scrap Goblin's got a absolutely gigantic chunk of resources right now, and Boogie's playing very passive. I guess it's a decent special to initiate. I don't really understand why it didn't knock over two of those Warrior Brood, but these guys are getting way too low on HP. Chopped up by the Slugger Knob, chopped up by the Death Dread. One of them's going to die. And a decent special attack there from the Hive Tyrant, disrupting a fair bit, but the Hormagaunts are now really weak without their melee Synapse. And now the Tyrant Guard is isolated. He's got a Slugger Knob and a Stormboy Knob chopping away at him, but the Stormboy Knob is going to disengage and jump onto the Ravener Brood there because, of course, the Ravener Brood is outputting huge amounts of piercing damage. And that is a Calder Boys! Beautifully timed there from Scrap Goblin with the Calder Boys. That not only reinforces all the Orc Boys in the proximity, but it is also going to give them a speed and damage boost. And you can see with that speed and damage boost, that is going to secure the kill on the Hive Tyrant, but it is a trade because the Commando Knob is mismicro, then is sent far too far down, and it is taken out by the ranged DPS of the Tyranids. Nevertheless, nothing was able to save the Tyrant Guard from its fate there against the Death Dread because there's no ranged AV. So the Tyrant Guard was slowly, in spite of its shield wall, HP, regen and vehicle armor, hacked away at by the Death Dread. But a lot of bleed there for both players. I was going to say, before this fight happened, Scrap Goblin having so many resources that he had, and Boogyman playing so passively that he was, I would have been going tier 3, and Scrap Goblin perhaps making a little bit of a mistake there not going tier 3 sooner, but nevertheless maybe it was needed for his Call to Boys, I'm not sure. Death Dread currently though, quite uncontested. Warrior Brood coming back out with a lot of HP, they do have that heavy melee so they can put a little bit of pressure onto the Death Dread, but of course Warrior Brood are not as fast as a Death Dread, so the Death Dread is going to activate his Rampage ability and get back to the base. Only one repair unit on the field at the moment, that is the Soul Slugger Boys. Remember, of course, Orcs can use the Global Bar to call in some Garots and have some repair support from them. But Scrap Goblin probably going to be saving his resources at the moment so that he can get some kind of tier 3 vehicle purchase. Given that Boogyman seems very reluctant to get a Venom Brood, a looted tank might be quite potent. On the other hand, it is a Hive Tyrant, and out of all the Tyranid heroes, the Hive Tyrant is arguably the best at dealing with tanks, due to his Venom Cannon upgrade. The Ravener has some ranged AV as well with the Corrosive Devourer, but the Ravener can be suppressed and knocked over, and it also can't fire on the move. The Hive Tyrant has all those advantages. You can't suppress him, you can't knock him over, and it fires on the move. Plus he can get a charge to try and catch up with the tank temporarily. So we are going to see the looted tank, and I really, really hope that Boogyman gets the Venom Cannon on the Hive Tyrant to deal with that. Where is the rest of Boogyman's resources gone? Did he really bleed that much? Man. I mean, he's putting on the pressure over here with his Hormagaunts. Scrap Goblin is 1 unit fewer, so it's not surprising he would have less map control. And remember, of course, Orc units are just average speed, they're all speed 5. Tyranids are very fast, Termagants are speed 6, Warriors are 5.5, Hormagaunts and Raveners are speed 6.5. So that is a significant speed advantage to the Tyranids, which manifests in a map control advantage. But you see there, the looted tank makes its presence felt, instantly taking off about 60% of the HP of that Hormagaunt squad. The looted tank, it doesn't have the best DPS for a tank, but its DPH is huge, and it actually has the highest amount of splash damage per cannon shot from its main cannon out of all the tanks. And you've seen it there on the Hormagaunts. It's brutal. Very good at hit and runs against high model infantry squads. Instantly picks up its reinforced plating here, which gives it the boom gun ability. You mark an area, you wait a bit, and then it does a large AoE blast. We are going to see the improved synapse coming out now, but more importantly the Venom Cannon on the Hive Tyrant. Only having one source of ranged AV is a bit suspicious. Of course, the Death Dread can just tie up the Hive Tyrant right now because he's a ranged AV source, but that's what the heavy melee warriors and the Tyrant Guard are there for, to counter-initiate. Here comes the boom gun. Just going to retreat the warriors out of there. Not sure how necessary that was, but yeah, Tyrant Guard is going to slay the Death Dread. Death Dread not full health in that engagement, and the amount of anti-infantry DPS coming out there from the Raveners and the Termagants forces off the Stormboys. Note now that we actually have the enhanced muscle coil from the... oh wow, the Hive Tyrant has nearly killed the looted tank. Will Scrap Goblin get it out? Indeed, he does. I was trying to say, note the enhanced muscle coil, basically turning these Raveners into a melee version. Again, the Commander Knob goes down. Commander Knob, unfortunately, not really achieving too much value in this game here. Not really done anything particularly unique with his Commando Knob. Could have been playing any hero. You know, Call to Boys works whether you're a K-Knob, a Warboss, or a Mech Boy. Not really using any of those tools that are discussed in Tier 2 that can be so effective against the Tyranids. I don't think the Shooter Boys can finish this cap here. It might cost them their lives. Although Hormagaunts choosing to go after one model though. Oh, they retreat out at the last minute without finishing the cap, and they probably... okay. They lose 3 models. Scrap Goblin losing his Commander Knob repeatedly is really hurting him here. I mean, he'd have had 750 requisition, which if we look at his composition with 130 rec in the bank, man, that would have been quite amazing. Could have got a Knob Squad out. And remember, the earlier that you get a Knob Squad out, the better, because one of the best things about Knob Squad, compared to Terminators, is the fact that they can actually level up. So they're a bit meh at first at level 1 and with no upgrades. Well, they're actually incredibly meh. At level 1 with no upgrades, they're worse than Slugger Boys with their leader. But when you start getting all the upgrades and then you start leveling them up, they get a bit ridiculous because of how much HP they end up having. Stun Bomb goes in there from the Commando Knob, only stunning one of the Warrior Brood models, and the Sluggers are completely isolated against melee Raveners, Hormagaunts, a Tyrant Guard, and Adrenal Gland Warriors. So they are not able to output enough DPS. The supporting fire here, though, from the looted tank is impactful, forces off the Hormagaunts. Maybe could do with a Brood Nest for this push to reinforce the things, but I guess it's too late. Everything's already been pushed off, the Hormagaunts retreated. Just be careful here with the Tyrant Guard, not to overextend it unnecessarily. Remember, if the Tyrant Guard is not in Synapse, it gets a large reduction to its movement speed. So you've got to be very careful about overextending it. We're seeing Commandos from Scrap Goblin instead. I don't know about this. I don't think this force here is that fearsome to be scared of it with knobs. You just need to commit better. Stormboys probably should be going onto the Hive Tyrant, but not until the Sluggers and the Knobs would go in and divert the attention of all the melee. And then you have the looted tank to focus down the Warriors and pop Synapse. We'll have to see how these Commandos do. Certainly they're doing alright right now. There's a good amount of piercing DPS here to force off the Hive Tyrant. Can take out the Brood Nest quite easily as well. They do cap 50% quicker as well as infiltrate, which makes them very good at map control units. Could see them infiltrating after taking out this Brood Nest and going over to the natural VP there of Boogyman, something I would recommend. But Boogeyman's now going tier 3 himself, somehow in spite of Scrap Goblin getting to tier 3 first here. He's not really had the better end of the engagements and he's putting behind quite a lot in VPs. I think I would be prioritising the VP there over the requisition that we see the Commandos capping right now. Wonder what the plan is for Boogeyman in tier 3. He doesn't have any power, which makes the Carnifex train quite difficult to mobilise. Carnifex are actually very power hungry. Maybe a Lictor instead? I don't know. Really you want the Carnifex, but... This is quite funny. There was never any shooter knobs purchased. So the burrowing Raveners here with their enhanced muscle coil are invisible. Because there's no detector. Sluggers are running around with just the knob himself, no boys. Imagine having a Slugger knob be the one to repair your tanks. Where are the grots? Commando's going to take out that tower and get onto the VP. And now we're seeing Rippers from Boogeyman, but feels like they're going to be a bit of a waste. Okay, he is actually engaging here. They eat that shell from the looted tank, but probably going to be dispatched. Raveners emerge, and you see they do tremendous amounts of knockback as well as stun when they emerge. Another call to boys here, so you've got to be careful. All these Orc boys currently have a damage buff. The Hive Tyrant got really close to the tank there, but it wasn't actually focusing on the tank the entire time it was walking forward, which was a bit of a mistake. The Slugger Knob seems to have been slain from the Slugger boys here, so this is a really bad fight. And again, the Warriors knocking over the Storm boys and then wiping them. Oh my god. This melee blob from the Tyranids is just dominating the Orcs. No Weird Boy and no Pain Boy for support in melee is not really ideal. See, not only does the Pain Boy have the heals, but he's also got the knockback on demand from the unstable fuel injection. And then the Weird Boy has the Vomit and the Warpath, both of which can be very useful in a melee scrap. Tyrant isn't going to be able to trade with the looted tank there, not when it's getting repaired and there's double shooters to help him out. But again, pushing off all the Scrap Goblin's forces here should open up the map to Boogeyman. Termagant's over here onto the natural VP of Scrap Goblin. They're also decapping the natural VP again for himself, which somehow did come under the control of Scrap Goblin, I guess from the Commandos earlier. Scrap Goblin now choosing to go for the knobs. I really think the knobs needed to come up first. Like I was saying earlier, you'd have a chance they've got some XP on them then, close to level 2. The earlier they come out, the better. As long as they're not just going to get wrecked by a melee walker. But if you got a tank, generally that's not too big of a deal. Or Commando Knob in tier 3, because you can get the rocket launcher. But Commando Knob's dead again. I don't know. This Commando Knob, I don't know why it keeps dying, to be honest. Scrap Goblin seems just completely unable to keep him alive. And when you think about it, that's 1,000 requisition. And Scrap Goblin seems to constantly have less requisition than he has power. So, yeah, his economy would be a million times better if he had that. So you see that Boogyman here is going to be countering with a Neurothrope. I actually really like that choice. It's less power intensive than a Carnifex, way less power intensive. But it still does good work against the knobs. Cataclysm's okay because it's CC, knocks them over. They're not knockback immune, unlike Terminators. But really, the value is in the Paroxysm, which does percentage HP damage. So it's a lot better the higher the HP of the opponent that you're attacking. And knobs, of course, have tremendous amounts of HP. So Paroxysm will be very decent against those knobs. And a Venom Brood to follow it up, damn. Guess he really wants to get rid of this tank. It is quite annoying. I mean, the tank should really enable Scrap Goblin to dominate the map control, just with its speed and its burst damage. Maybe it'd be an idea to send the tank repeatedly down this lane. By the time the very slow moving Hive Tyrant rotates over, you can just yeet it back to the other side. This Hive Tyrant is literally slower than the average move speed in the game, so comparing that to the move speed of a tank, it's quite a big speed differential. But right now, Boogeyman's basically doing a full army push onto the natural VP of Scrap Goblin because the game is getting very low on VPs. 59 VPs is all that Scrap Goblin has right now. Boogeyman with just over 100. So he totally cedes this entire side of the map. It's not like he has any gens there either. Commandos really ought to be going in and putting some pressure on Boogeyman's natural VP. But should get detected. I don't know. They're probably going to be just on the range. The Venom Brood detection. Venom Brood walking down to detect them, but what can they do? They're just anti-vehicle. Okay, they're not. He's got Death Spitters on his Venom Brood. What? That's an interesting late choice. Goes tier 3 and gets Death Spitter Venoms after his Neurothrope. I guess. I don't know. I feel like I'd just keep them Venom Brood, to be honest, and try and deal with the looted tank. Hello? Commandos are attacking the base there. I don't know if Scrap Goblin noticed that the Venom were Death Spitters and therefore can't threaten the looted tank. But everything is bobbing up in this choke point here. This would be an absolutely beautiful area to hit a Paroxysm. Where is the Paroxysm? Where is it? Note as well, of course, all of these nearby Tyranids are getting a HP boost from the improved synapse of the Hive Tyrant. The Tyrant Guard has charged onto the looted tank here and just takes it out. Warrior's probably going to get popped, but everything else is pretty damn tanky. Oh, a beautiful burrow there from the Raveners, disrupting all the melee just as the Warriors were retreating. And the Commandos get taken out, and this is a lot of ranged firepower. The double term against, and the Neurothrope, and the Death Spitter Venom Brood. I mean, the Orcs just get absolutely wrecked. I don't even know if there was a Paroxysm there, but yeah, that was a very foolish way to engage through this choke point here. I mean, that's really asking for trouble. It's always harder to be the attacker than the defender, but walking right into a choke point with your entire army is quite silly. All Scrap Goblin needed to do was push down that area with his commandos. Just infiltrate, get the decap, and then split his units to come through these areas and take a big fight in this general area here. There also was no anti-garrison, so you could have put maybe commandos inside the garrison here. Guess the Tyrant Guard splash damage could be dangerous. But it was good place, clearly overwhelming the micro there of Scrap Goblin. And then Boogie denies this push with the Tyranno formation, swapping out to the Rending Talons in the late game here to give a bit more aid against all the melee. And he's going to win it on the VPs, but VPs did get very low in the end. I guess Scrap Goblin, if nothing else, did delay the cap of this by fighting down here. So got Boogeyman down to 28 VPs, nearly won in spite of everything. I mean, imagine if he hadn't lost his Commander Knob 4 times. Maybe got the knobs out a little sooner. I don't know. I think not having Pain Boy or Weird Boy when fighting Nids is kind of mad. They both seem really good. And as I say, in general, I prefer to go more melee, less shooters. The shooters... they don't really do anything at all. I was going to say they don't scale, but honestly, they're not even that good in Tier 1. But anyway, folks, hope you did enjoy that. If you want more of this high-level content, well, you know, this was mid-high. But if you want more mid-high or high-level content, then you can find it on the Patreon as well as supporting the channel. So check that out. There is a link in the description. That's going to be all from your boy Torpid this time. I am signing out.